Come on into my lesson. While we're just waiting for the others, let me just get some PVA glue on this joint here. And if I take this other piece of wood and just bring it down and just rub it around a little bit to get all the air out, just press that glue in, and there, I have now done the simplest joint that you can do, and that is called the butt joint. Yeah, don't laugh, it's called the butt joint. So over the next few videos, what I'd like to do is show you lots of wood joints, and really we can sort of classify them into two different sections, whether we're going to use them on a carcass like this, which would be, you know, something like a box would be a carcass, a cupboard, definitely a carcass, maybe even a drawer that you get in a cupboard would be a carcass. And we're going to look at frames as well, which also need lots of different types of joints. And by a frame, I mean something like this, like a chair, like a table, and like a garden bench as well would be a good example made out of wood. Now there'll be lots of decisions that you have to make before you can choose your joint. So let's have a look at some of these. We'll need to think about speed and whether we want to do something like a mock-up, which you only want to take you 5 minutes to do, just to sort of prove a point or get the right size of things. Or you might want to be producing like a quality joint for a final product. You'll have to decide whether you want to hide the joint or do you want it to be seen? Is it something decorative? You'll also want to know whether it's going to be used in a corner, you know, like here and here, or whether you're going to use it sort of midsection in a different position, because that will call for a different joint, like here and here. Are we using the joint on a manufactured board? Because there are a lot of joints that you can't use on a manufactured board. Or are we going to be using solid timber, which opens up our options of joints that we can use? And then also, what is the thickness of the material that we're going to use? Whoa, so many decisions to make. And there are some things that I want you to understand about the diagrams that I'm going to use over the next couple of videos. One is that they are maybe just one part of the joint, in that I might be just showing you like a corner here, might just be a little corner of it here, or a little part of the frame. So, you know, bear that in mind. If we glue the joint together, then we make it a permanent joint, and it is not intended to be taken apart. And then if we use no glue, then we call it a temporary joint. And again, some temporary joints, you can then add glue to them and then they become permanent joints. So just bear that in mind. And then maybe the number of connections that we're going to make. So by that I mean, if I'm going to use a screw joint on this cupboard, for example, if I put one in here, that's what I might show you on the screen. But it may be that it needs 2 or 3. Well, it definitely need 2, but it might need 3 or 4 depending on the width of unit that you're dealing with. Let's just make that clear. That's a number of connections. And then the other thing that I want you to bear in mind, that if we've glued something up, then we have clamped it. And I'm not going to show you all the clamping processes in these, but just bear that in mind. If you use glue, it must be clamped. Now, if I left this butt joint drying for at least 3 hours, not, you know, even overnight if possible, then it would still be the worst joint in the world, because it's just so easy to break. And that is because we're just relying on the strength of the glue to hold it together. And then the surface area, how much glue we can put onto the surface area that's available. So yeah, we need some way then of being able to reinforce this joint. One of the simplest reinforcement methods is to use a nail joint. You know, this is very simple. Maybe you've done this already. I've chosen here a loss head nail, which I'm then going to beat in place with a hammer. But a little trick I can do before that is just to angle this nail very slightly. And then we call this dovetail nailing. Let's just put that in there, dovetail nailing. And what it does, it stops the nails from being pulled out so easily. I can show you this in a 2D view. So if our nails have gone in here at an angle, then you can see they form this sort of dovetail shape, and then it's more difficult to pull out. There's the little dove looking up at you. But yeah, to pull these out, you can't just generally pull them upwards. So I can get the two pieces of wood, put them together, and then drive one of the nails in, down like this, so that the loss head goes beneath or just on the surface. And then get the second nail and do the same again with that one as well. In we go, job done. And remember, you'll make this a permanent joint if you add glue before you nail. A more effective way of holding two pieces of wood together will be with a screw joint. Let's bring in a countersink screw. To fit a screw joint, you're going to need 3 holes. Now, don't cheat, okay? Do it properly. You're going to need a clearance hole. That's in the top piece of wood for the screw to just simply pass through. Next, you are going to countersink this clearance hole so that the head of the screw fits flush with the surface of your material. And finally, you're going to need a pilot hole. Yeah, a pilot hole, like the pilot of a plane, which will guide your screw into this bottom piece. Right, now I'm quite a stickler for these different drills, so let's make sure that we understand it completely. This first one is what we call the clearance hole. So it's just a normal twist bit, but it is slightly bigger than the screw thread. Look, there, you can't see the screw thread behind it. And I just want to drill down through this top layer with that drill bit, just the top layer, to make that clearance hole. Right, let me just shove it over here. And that will make a hole like this appear. The next bit that I need is this countersink bit, which is a really interesting drill. And we're going to take this and we're going to drill down the top of that clearance hole. Can you see it's just the same shape as the countersink screw? So that's going to fit nice and flush now with the surface. And that will produce a hole like this in the top. So now I'm ready to drill the pilot hole. And again, I'm just going to use a normal twist bit, but this time, can you see it's slightly smaller than the screw? Can you see that the screw thread is poking out from the side of the drill? And this drill is just about the same size as the root of the screw, which is the solid bit which runs through the center. I'm going to drill through that clearance hole into the bottom piece here. And then that will create my pilot hole for the screw to follow. And this will drill a hole like so into the bottom piece. So we repeat that for the other side, because otherwise with just one screw in place, then the wood will pivot. Taking all the top piece now, I can line it up here, the clearance hole with the pilot holes. And then I can take the countersink screw bit. I can pass it through, remember, the top piece, because that clearance hole will have no friction on the screw thread. But the screw thread will start to bite into the pilot hole. And as I drive the screw in, it will tighten the two pieces together. So we've got the pilot hole here, which, remember, is about a millimeter smaller than the screw itself. We've got the clearance hole here, which is a millimeter more or larger than the screw itself. And then we've got the countersink hole here, which is just drilled so that the screw head will fit flush with the surface. Okay, that's a real lot to remember there. So let's take a break and join me again for the next set of reinforced butt joints. Oh yes, there's still more to come.